If you work for a chemical company, your work is benefited by the periodic table of the elements. That is, everyone who works in chemistry around the globe uses the same periodic table. Each of the elements of the periodic table has known characteristics, and various combinations of things like hydrogen and oxygen bring about another element, water. So in the periodic table of the elements, you basically choose which one of the 111 elements you need to do what you're doing. So if you're making brass or bronze or stainless steel, all three of those are different combinations of the periodic table. It would be a nice dream to have a periodic table of talent. That is, what if all of us in talent management had the same set of characteristics that we worked with? And let's just assume for the moment there were 111. And depending upon what role or job or level or type of job that we were thinking of, you could go into this table of talent and pick out the specific elements or behaviors or competencies or practices that led to success in that particular task. So a startup would be different than a fix-it would be different than an international assignment. I'm happy to report there is a periodic table of talent, but sad to tell you that it's unlikely we're going to get there, and I'll tell you why. If you locked up all talent management researchers and thought leaders and gurus in a room and wouldn't let them out until they agreed upon the specific characteristics of a leader or a successful manager, you could probably do that. Because we're in a free enterprise system, every vendor, and there are probably 20 vendors all of us know who have competing competency models or practice models, because in the copyright law business, you can't use the name that somebody else has. So I may call something influence skills. Somebody else will call it woo. Somebody else will call it charisma. And we all have to have different names for what is all basically common. So, like chemists who do their job better because of the periodic table of the elements, what I would like to propose is that we should, at some point in time, agree on the periodic table of talent management. We are a vendor of such a periodic table. We have 90 practices or competencies or skills. We call them KSAs, combination of knowledge, skills, and attributes. They're in 3 libraries, so individual contributors have a periodic table, supervisors and managers have a periodic table, and executives, leaders, and top managers have a periodic table. Each one of those periodic tables has 30 characteristics. No one has all 30 characteristics. No one needs all 30 characteristics. What we've found out over the last 50 years of research is that people lead in different ways and can be successful using different elements from the library. We also know that managers can manage in different ways and be equally successful. So we have all sort of hoped for a model of leadership or a model of managers, and all of us have read the articles and read the LinkedIn and Facebook posts of the 7 characteristics of excellent leaders. There is no such thing. It's a dream. It isn't true. The most usual format for studies like that is they put together 20 acknowledged leaders. So it'll be Nelson Mandela and Mother Teresa and Jack Welch and Larry Bossidy and John Kennedy. and Martin Luther King, and then retrospectively they figure out what characteristics led them to be successful. They put it together in a table and they proudly say these are the 7 characteristics that these 20 leaders used to be successful. Unfortunately, if you take Mother Teresa and work her back up against the 7 characteristics, Mother Teresa doesn't have all those 7 characteristics. Neither does Jack Welch at GE. Neither does Nelson Mandela. Because the finding is that people can lead differently. So the 25,000 studies that have been done of groups of acknowledged leaders summarizing into this great model is false science. That's not real. What we do know from the research is that there are a number of pieces of knowledge, skills and attributes like style and personality and emotional management that are required from time to time for every individual contributor, every manager, and every leader. In these 90 characteristics in the periodic table of talent, going from your first day as an individual contributor to your retiring as a CEO of a Fortune 500 company, at some point in time, you will use many of those 90 elements, but they won't be the same across the 3 levels. They will be different if you're doing a startup, or you're doing a fix-it, you're doing a turnaround, you're doing an international assignment, you're managing a company through the COVID, black swan, catastrophic times, a recession in the economy. Every situation means you have to go back to the library and pick out a subset. What our research has shown is that you need about 7 to 13 of the 30 to be a successful leader, but not every successful leader has the same 7 to 13 characteristics. So of the 30, you need to have about half to be able to lead organizations and lead others. So not only do people manage differently, but they have a different subset of the 30 practices or competencies or KSAs that are needed. Now, if we could agree that they're all the same and they're defined the same, the field of talent management would improve greatly. Unfortunately, it's unlikely that that's going to happen because of copyright rules. So if I call something executive listening skills and wrap a definition around that, that means that other vendors will be prevented from using that same terminology. So they'll have to call it something else. So that's unfortunate. But the truth is, underlying all of the respected vendors, all of us are talking about the same periodic table of talent. It's just that the law requires us to name and define them differently. And I think a sophisticated talent management leader, a professional, should be able to look at any of these respected, research-based, experience-tested sets of characteristics and say, I know this one is influenced, although it's called woo, and the other one, our other division, uses is gravitas. That's all the same characteristic that we're working with. Now, within a single company of multiple divisions, what is important is that you pick one language. That is, our entire field would be able to do better work for our clients and stakeholders if we all use the same language. So find one of the vendors that you like, find one of the vendors that has professionals to work with that you enjoy working with, and get all of your divisions to agree to use a single vendor, and then implement a single language of talent from one of the respected sources across your entire organization to do all of the things that we do in talent management. So the good news is, under all of this, there is a periodic table of the elements as it relates to talent management. We all need to learn what those common elements are. And then in the companies in which we work, or if we're a consultant, to pick one of those respected sets, is to settle in on one common language of managing talent.